Hey everybody, welcome to Rotowire Fantasy Sports Today, the Intercontinental Edition. Jeff Erickson, Chris Liss here. It is not Rotowire Fantasy Sports Today. What am I talking about? This is the Rotowire Fantasy Football Podcast brought to you by WinBet. Man, I'm already on autopilot mode and I just started the week, dude. That's not a good idea. That's not good at all. But hey, Team of Destiny, still alive. Built character building weekend for you. And it was a crazy scoring week in fantasy football too.
It was a good week. I lost my best bet again, so that wasn't. I don't want to start the negative streak and finish 9-9 on the year, but yeah, I had the Browns at Survivor. They're up 13-0. It was looking easy. Titans were getting killed, then the Titans start coming back, and the Browns start getting really sketchy. And I'll tell you the extent to which Dalton and I are the team of destiny. So the Browns are up 13-7. It's the last play of the third quarter, and DeAndre Swift, who just broke a long touchdown to make it 13-7. Is gashing them. The Browns defense is tired. Mayfield is done. The announcers, as LeVar Arrington was ridiculously praising Mayfield for being a gamer, but what he's really doing is, I don't know if you saw that. But
announcers love a gimpy quarterback. They love gimpy quarterbacks. And it's like, oh, look at how much he cares. No, he's killing the team. Get him out.
Terrible.
I think you and I both tweeted about that last
week. It was, but I mean, when you have your, Survivor on the line, it's worth like $40,000 and you're like, living and dying with it. It's super annoying. And so Mayfield's gutting it out and they show Keenum like warming up, looking completely healthy. And I'm like, just get out of the game. Anyway, he's doing terrible. The kicker missed a field goal and extra point. So, the kicker's not reliable. The defense is tired. DeAndre Swift is really good and dangerous. And he runs a 13-yard run to get him to the 32-yard line, 1st and 10. First play of the fourth quarter, and they're down 6. So it's like if they score a touchdown, they're going up, and this is very bad. But anyway, it goes to break the broadcast because it's turning to the fourth quarter. And when it comes back in the fourth quarter, they say it's 1st and 25. There's been an unsportsmanlike penalty, and it turns out that one of the Detroit offensive linemen said something about Jadeveon Clowney's mother. He did like a "your mama" joke, a rude one apparently to Jadeveon Clowney, and he got a 15-yard. Unsportsmanlike penalty. So it's 1st and 25. So Detroit, which was just rolling, and they couldn't get a first down. They had a punt. So that would have made it 13-10. They were already in field goal range, and who knows if they score the touchdown then, right? So they don't. It's 1st and 25. Cleveland gets the ball. They don't do anything. They punt. And then Detroit gets a field goal to make it 13-10. And then Cleveland runs out the clock. But the thing is, like, if they get that other field goal or touchdown, we may lose. So we may have won the team of destiny because of the your mama joke that one of the linemen said about Jadeveon Clowney in earshot of a referee. I'm not kidding. I'm not making this up.
Unbelievable. I don't know if there's like any history there with Jadeveon Clowney's mom, like something tragic happened to her and that's why it was extra sensitive or something like that.
I don't think so. They just said it was heat of the moment, like talking Yang and it's got it in.
Point of emphasis, Chris. This is a point of emphasis. There will be no taunting. There will be no untoward words towards the other team. Think about the children who aren't even watching right now, but think about them. Think about them every time you're uttering anything. I mean, And they did double down on that. There was that. I don't know if you saw the memo that went there, or the reporting of the memo that went around. You didn't see the actual memo. Nope. No, you didn't do that. But we believe in this taunting rule. We're going to follow through with it. Sean Payton spoke in favor of it. Mike Tomlin spoke in favor of it. Yeah, of course, because they're authoritarians and they they want to control everything to the nth degree because they're coaches. That's what they do. And just you guys are the only people that want that. Nobody else wants that. I mean, Cleveland Browns fans are happy.
A lot of things in society are wanted by the most authoritarian factions, and most people don't want it. And yet, if people don't get pissed about it, then it happens. And it looks like the fans are pretty pissed about this taunting stuff because it's turning games. Now, I'm not pissed because team of destiny. I think the refs have been on our side this whole time. Remember when Justin Tucker made the game-winning field goal in week 3, the all-time record, the play before that, they didn't call a delay of game. So the refs are on our side there. The refs are on our side when the Bengals got knocked out. The people at the Bengals, when the Jets, Remember that, like ticky tack? What was it, like a helmet
Chris,
to helmet?
I remember that. Yes. Thank you.
Helmet to helmet hit.
Of course, I remember that.
We've been getting all the referee breaks too. So I mean, that's part of it.
So maybe you're not even Team of Destiny. Maybe you're just Team of Refs. Have you ever seen the documentary Bad Sport on Netflix?
I haven't seen it.
There's one with the where there was ref fixing in Serie A, Italian soccer league, and one of the games, like it was so deep. Like the guy that was running Juventus made sure that their top opponent had three players get yellow cards the game before, so they'd be suspended for yellow card accumulation for the game against Juventus. I mean, it was deep. I mean, the fix was so in, and I think that's what's happening here. I think you're really, truly a mastermind behind this here.
I got all these people on the payroll. But $6 million is a lot. It goes a long way. Got a couple of refs, got a couple of players, got a couple of coaches.
You truly have spent the money this time.
I have. Yeah, I've spent it. Because, just the publicity is worth another $6 million, Jeff. So I'm just going to spend all the $6 million to get it. And then, then we'll be famous for having been the Team of Destiny. Now I have to say, like, we put $1,000 down this summer in Vegas, and we've definitely got our money's worth. I mean, it's worth like 40 something now. But just the fun of it, and the people are tweeting at me saying, I'm only watching these games to see if you guys win. I'm only tuning in because I want to see. Who
else would tune into a Cleveland-Detroit game? I mean, come on.
Some of these terrible games, like the Miami-Texans game, was an incredible, epic game. If you have that much on it, you're like, this is incredible. This is one of the greatest athletic performances of all time. It's incredible. When Tyrod Taylor was just trying to throw it out of bounds, but yet he accidentally threw an interception. That was like the most dramatic swing and like an incredible. It was like a performance. It was amazing. So
I got knocked out in the season pool. I went Tennessee and Tampa Bay. I think I might have had I used San Francisco. So I didn't have San Francisco. My pivot probably would have been Carolina, or maybe if I would have talked myself into Miami. Yeah, but that's the gift of hindsight there right now. But no,
should have faded Tennessee though. I was trying to tell you that, Jeff. You should.
I know you were, but
you talked me into taking the Raiders against the spread. You said don't give in to recency bias. You didn't even say that. You said you weren't going to give in to recency bias, but I used it to blame you in the column.
Yes, I know. I remember. I remember the whole conversation. I appreciate the shout out in your column too.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I should have known better, but this one's on Jeff.
But it's fine because the Bengals won. I don't care. That's fine. Blame me on that one there.
So you were hedged and I wasn't. That's the problem.
Here the other, but I'm in another survivor pool where it's a 2-strike contest. I don't have any strikes, and I went with Cleveland. And there's a bunch of Tennessee people got knocked off. We're down to like 10 after we were at like 25 or something going into the week. So that was definitely good. And then I'm doing this thing with DVR's running called a pentathlon. We have a survivor element, and it's also a 2-strike thing. And I had a strike, but I went Tampa Bay this week purposefully for pot odds, knowing that everybody else was likely to take Tennessee. There's only 5 teams alive going into this week. They all took Tennessee.
So you got to just win.
Well, there's 2 that had no strikes, so they now have a strike. So I just have to, Tampa's still got to win for me tonight.
They're going to lose.
I know. Team of Destiny, blah, blah, blah. You're Giants. Yeah.
But I'm also in Dalton's pool where there's 32 people, $100 each, and Ted Bell, me, and Dalton's Uncle Steve. And in DMs, I'm like, F Uncle Steve. Let's get rid of Uncle Steve. But Uncle Steve, apparently, Ted Bell, and me are the last 3. It's $3,100. And I took Cleveland because, of course, I'm riding with the Destiny pick always, and they both took Tampa. So I'm going to get $3,100, right away. If
you don't get Team of Destiny in 2 different pools, it doesn't work that way, Chris.
No, you follow. Actually, I do have one different one. I took the Vikings one week, so there's one pick that's out of sync with it, and if that has to die to win the $6 million, I'll be okay with it. But I think I'm going to win this week. I think Tampa is going to lose. I think the Giants are going to take them out. It's just been the way that's gone. Nobody wants to pull away. Everybody wants 3 losses. The only team with 2 losses, I think, in the NFL right now is the Cardinals.
Yeah, that's right. And they're winning on the road with Colt McCoy, who actually played really well yesterday.
Played well. He looked. I was like, this is quick.
Horrible against Carolina. Just terrible against Carolina the week before. That game was a squash. It was never close. It was 14-0 like that, and you think, okay, well, they're gonna settle down. Like, no, they didn't settle down the whole game. I mean, it was terrible. That was a tough rewatch last week, but this week, I'm gonna have to watch that one because my focus was on the Bengals game in that afternoon window. There's 3 games I got to make sure I watch more than anything else, and that's the Jets Miami, just because They weren't one of the 8 teams on the grid channel yesterday. Right. So all I got were highlights on Red Zone. That was going to be the last game they showed. And then KC, and then Seattle and Arizona. And I'm dreading Arizona Seattle just because it's a shame just seeing what happened to Russell Wilson. And he's just back too soon. And I probably had him ranked too high this week.
Yeah, I thought he would get better, but he looked terrible. DK Metcalf just doesn't exist. It was pretty ugly.
Metcalf got robbed on that one. It should have been a touchdown. I don't know. It's probably
I might have missed it,
but one-handed catch. They said he didn't get all the way in, but it was pretty awesome.
It's been it's been a good year. I missed on DK Metcalf though. I had to start Zach Ertz because I wasn't sure if Gronk would play. Zach Ertz gets 2 touchdowns. I would have started Gronk, but because Gronk was iffy, I started Ertz. So just been like that. I've got Jonathan Taylor in key places. I got Herbert in key places. It was just a sick.
You were strident about Taylor too. It wasn't just that you have him and you just happened to get him. You were targeting him. You were making the case for him. And that helps. As you mentioned in your column, the only tough thing is you were also fading Eckler as part of that. There are teams out there that have both Taylor and Eckler, especially after the Wentz injury and the Quentin Nelson injury in training camp. You had those. There was a period there where Jonathan Taylor dropped to the second round, and it was beautiful. And you could have had an Eckler-Taylor start.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like the nuts, and you would be just crushing it, and then get Cooper Kupp in the 3rd or 4th, and It's over, because Cooper Kupp has been like the most ridiculous player in fantasy. But Taylor's now catching up really quickly after that game. And yeah, it was a great pick. I was like, I'm taking him there. And in one league, I took Barkley, but Taylor went ahead of me because I was talking him up. Was beat Chris Liss won, and that team has got the most points in its league, so that's okay. The Barkley Hopkins team, thanks to Cooper Kupp mostly. And then the prime time, the big stakes one, I've got Taylor. So that one, I have the most points right now, and I was too much of a nutless monkey. I had Elijah Moore in there over Michael Pittman against the Bills, and I swapped it at the last minute. I've got 180 points right now in the prime time, and I've still got Mike Evans and the Bucs defense going.
Wow.
But that was with 4 points from Michael Pittman, and I could have had 29 from Elijah Moore, but I swapped. So I would have 209 with 2 players going. But I can't complain too much. It's still a good still a good week. And I still have, I hope Mike Evans has a good game, and the Bucs, not really, because I want the Giants to win. So all of that can happen. But Taylor has been huge. Fantasy football is always about those couple of players, Eckler, Taylor, Kupp, Devontae Adams. You just got to get those couple of guys right and fill in. It's much more top heavy than baseball. It really comes down to a couple of players.
Yeah. Joe Daly up on Rotowire made the case for Taylor to be 1.1 next year. I think that's capped. I think it's probably Captain Obvious.
It's obvious now. It was obvious last week. I mean, McCaffrey's getting older. McCaffrey now, he had 10 carries, but he had, 7 catches and a touchdown. It's Taylor and McCaffrey right now, and Kupp. Those 3 guys are the top 3 players. Devontae's right there, those 4. And then, and Eckler, those 5. Those are the top 5 players, I think. I can't really think of anyone else.
Najee Harris?
That team sucks. Like, you look at him last night, like, he's good. He scored a touchdown. He got 3 catches. There's nowhere to run for him, though. It's a bad offense. It's a bad offensive line. I would put him outside those guys. I'd put him number 6.
Yeah, we'll see what they do in the offseason. They may change things.
For next year. Yeah, you got to put him up pretty high.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk a little bit more ramifications of this, but first, quick note from our friends at WynnBET. If there's one thing we appreciate here at Rotowire, it's making good decisions, and even more so, making the right decision. Listen up, folks. I have an incredible offer for you with Rotowire's newest partner, WynnBET, the premier digital casino and sportsbook app. WynnBET is now the exclusive sponsor for Rotowire's Fantasy Podcast. WynnBET brings you all the latest action with a user-friendly interface, moneyline bets, boosted parlays, over-unders, round robins, live betting, and so much more are at your fingertips. Want a break from sports betting? Head into WynnBET's digital casino and take a spin on roulette, double down in blackjack, slam the slots like Liss does, or try your hand at Baccarat. WynnBET is currently available in 7 states, Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Michigan, New Jersey, Tennessee, and Virginia, while rapidly expanding. At WynnBET, the possibilities are limitless. WynnBET is currently offering all Rotowire listeners a risk-free bet up to $500 on your first wager. Download WynnBET now. That's WYNNBET. WynnBET, the exclusive partner for Rotowire's Fantasy Podcast. Jeff Erickson with Chris Liss here. So this week in the Circus Survivor pool, you have to do a Thanksgiving pick. And that Thanksgiving pick is a lot more complicated now. You are fading Dallas just because you thought the crowd would go there. Now Dallas is not a sure thing because Amari Cooper is going to be out. CeeDee Lamb's probably going to be out. Tyron Smith might be out. I still think they beat the Raiders, and I've been spoiled a little bit on lines. We don't have to mention the lines yet, but
no, I've been looking at these lines just for this purpose. So I'm going to have to. Chicago's -3.5. Dallas is 7.5, 7-7 mostly, and Buffalo's we have the Saints. So this is really, really fascinating because we've used Buffalo. Most people have. We used Dallas more than half. I mean, less than half have, but
you thought you were fading the crowd with that one there.
Well, we are fading the crowd, but it's not as well as we thought because it actually was right because there's supposed to be 500 people left now, but there's only 100 and we'll see if it's 112 or 134 depending on Tampa. But because there's so few people left, a lot of the people who got through last week on that bloodbath had used Dallas. So, of course, they can't use Dallas on Thanksgiving, so they're going to pivot. Well, what's the second biggest favorite? Buffalo, but not many people have Buffalo. So it's going to be Chicago. So you're not going to be by yourself. There's going to be at least 50, 60 people on Chicago. I hope some of them took Tennessee, so they're out. But it's going to go mostly Dallas, then Chicago, and maybe a few on Buffalo. But what about this? The smallest underdog is Detroit, right? And let's say Dallas loses to the Raiders, which is like a 25% chance, 25-30% chance by the Vegas odds. If you have Detroit and Detroit wins, you might win the pool. There probably will be some lone people on Buffalo, but really at New Orleans after the way they've played, that's not, that's very shaky.
Both those teams had a miserable day yesterday.
Yeah, it's shaky. You don't want to take Buffalo at New Orleans, right? So this is crazy. Like if you take Detroit and they win the game, which is like 40% chance based on the odds, and then Dallas loses, which is like a 30% chance. So now you're down to 12%, right? Yeah. There's a 12% chance to win the whole pool, maybe. Well, there's 112 to 134 people left. 12% is a hell of a good chance, right? It's like 1 in 8 instead of 1 in 122. So don't you have to take Detroit? Now, I don't think it's going to be that perfect. I think someone will be on Detroit. I think there'll be a few people. So it's not, I'm overstating the case. But if you thought everyone's going to be on, Dallas and Chicago, the two favorites that are available, you almost would be like obligated to take Detroit in that case.
Don't do it, man. Just don't do it. Don't do it. I think you're twisting yourself into this one here, and I think
what do you mean? Well, what do you mean, Jeff? What do you mean? Look, there is a 40% chance that Detroit wins per the line. Now you could disagree on what that real chance is, but Vegas is saying you could if you disagree strongly, you should put a ton of money on the Chicago money line because then you're getting a huge value for that. But assuming you think those odds are roughly close, there's a 40% chance they win. And if they win, and then there's a 30% chance Dallas loses, that's 12%. And 12% to win the whole thing, to win $6 million. That's worth, about 800,000, $700,000 right now. And our entry's only worth 50 right now. So, you could like slow bleed like in poker and ante yourself to death, or you could just go all in and say, you know what? I put all my chips in. Let's get it done. The pot odds are huge. Now, again, I don't know for sure that nobody will be on Buffalo or Oakland or Detroit for that matter. I don't know. Probably somebody will be. I don't know. But if I knew for sure that everybody was on Chicago and Dallas, which is going to be by far the most popular, I would definitely take Detroit. I would snap call it. I wouldn't even think about it. I would have to think about what kind of bet I wanted to put money line Chicago to hedge maybe, but right. I would snap call. You win, again, Dallas may win also 70% chance, but 30% times 40% is 12%. That's not that low. And you're talking about winning $6 million. Now, again, right. It won't be 6 million. It'd probably be like, I'd be 1 out of 6 left. I'd be like, it would probably be worth $1 million basically. But again, my share is not worth $1 million yet.
No, it's not.
But it'd be 12% of $1 million, really. It'd be 120,000 basically, because you'd have a 12% chance to survive, and if you survive, there'll be 6 left. I think that's accurate, and there'll be $1 million. So it's worth 120, and mine's worth 50 right now, or something, 45. So you're tripling your money almost, and so I don't know that we're going to do that, but you gotta have it on the table. I mean, you got to be willing to do it at some point, because you could say, well, I don't want to take that chance to get wiped out, but dude, there's 100-something people left. Like, at some point you just say, okay, I'm taking the chance. because every week you're taking a chance. Even if there's no, the Browns could have lost last week. Now we're the team of destiny, so we'll never lose. And if we do this, it'll be the right thing. And if we don't do it, it'll be the right thing to avoid it. But this is a big test of oneself. This is. Chances are Detroit will lose, and that'll be it. That would be it. But that's only if you believe in probability, like it's coin flips. We need to decide what we want to do in terms of what we really believe was truly the way it's going, and then use the pot odds to inform.
I think Oscar's going to get a lot of walks this week.
He's going to get a lot of walks. We got to just meditate on it. It's going to come to me.
Yeah.
But you see the case is very strong to take Detroit this week.
I see the case, and I couldn't do it. When you have to win, taking a winless team, I just can't do it.
Well, but it doesn't matter if they're winless.
It's going to be Tim Boyle quarterbacking again.
I think David Blau actually was good, and he played last year on Thanksgiving, and that's what's coming to me. It's like he played in this exact game last year, and he played pretty well. Like he did, I don't know, just too perfect that it comes in, and then Chicago, Justin Fields is banged up. What if he plays, and he's not himself and he
pulls a Baker. Yeah.
I mean, dude, and Khalil Mack's on IR. Akeem Hicks was out last week.
Allen Robinson was out last week.
Robinson was out. I mean, it won't matter if Justin Fields.
And that was a weird game, by the way. That Ravens Bears ending. I mean, it was a boring game for 53 minutes. And then the last 7 minutes were just insane.
Yeah. It was a very crazy thing. It's kind of like the Steelers game was like kind of boring and then it went insane in the fourth quarter. But this one had like no scoring. And then Dalton came in and started lighting it up. And then all of a sudden, Huntley just was like, okay, they got that big pass to Sammy Watkins. And Sammy Watkins fumbled and cost them a game a couple games ago. But two games, one, the miracle that the team of destiny got against the Lions, he made the huge play that had to be made.
Down play. Yep.
He made the huge play twice. And just a crazy game. The Ravens have won that game, the Minnesota game, the Detroit game. They've won all these games they had no business winning. I mean, they've just pulled it out somehow.
Well, it's so funny, so that the Bears touchdown was on 4th and 11 after they had like a false start penalty. It was 4th and 6. They run a play with a double move and it works, and scores. Now the funny thing is, like, they gave Brett Huntley too much time. It could have been that.
Never give Brett Huntley too much time.
Never. But
no, it's Tyler Huntley. That's not Brett Hundley.
Tyler Huntley. Sorry.
You can give Brett Hundley as much time as you can.
I don't want to diminish the work of Tyler. Huntley did.
Tyler Huntley is actually like fast and athletic.
Right.
Like Brett Hundley
is
this scrub.
Point being, though, is he'd done nothing all game. Now the receiver could have gone down at like the 2-yard line, and they could have kicked the game-winning field goal. Except like Santos missed a kick earlier. It's you never want to bring that into the equation, but that's the one way to guarantee they would have won that game, because I think the Ravens were out of timeouts, or at least down on one timeout, something like that.
I'm a firm believer in risking the field goal. I would even do it, if you can do it on 3rd down and call a timeout if possible. Then if you have a bad snap, you can just fall on it. But you can miss a field goal. It's possible, but
it's kind of impossible also to not score on that play. I mean, there's so much adrenaline going. You're not even you're just thinking about trying to beat this team. You're not thinking about timeouts and time management, especially when you're like the 3rd string. You're like the number 4 receiver on the team too. This was Mooney. I mean, this was like,
Yeah, but the number 4 receiver on the team was Goodwin or somebody. With the number 4 receiver on the team has played a decent amount of football, Jeff. Like he should know to stay down. I mean, it's whatever. It's not that big a thing. The percentages aren't that different, right? You score, you probably win. You waste time, get the field goal, you more probably win. Mm-hmm. But
and remembering that the Ravens have to score a touchdown, they throw this like duck of a pass to Watkins to convert that long 3rd down. I mean, and to get in there. Was it 3rd down or 4th down? It might have even been 4th down. Point is, there was a lot of improbable circumstances in this game.
But the Ravens have done it all year. They're the team of destiny also.
They're the real life team of destiny.
The real life team of destiny.
But they saved a 40 burger to my Bengals, but that's beside the point.
Yeah. But the real team of destiny would never do that.
Yeah.
We still have the Bengals available, by the way.
Yeah. Well, you're going to have to make 2 choices this week. We'll talk about that in a second. The NFL season is heating up, and Yahoo is going big on daily fantasy football this season. There will be a ton of big prize contests throughout the year on Yahoo, including their multi-entry contest now being shark-free. To celebrate Yahoo going big on DFS, as well as Yahoo Daily Fantasy becoming shark-free, Yahoo is giving all users the opportunity to claim free $10 in site credit. Users can take advantage of this free $10 site credit offer to join any paid contest, including Yahoo's biggest contest, the weekly $1 million DFS NFL Baller Contest. The weekly $1 million contest features 1 million total prizes, including first place receiving $100,000 and tons of overlaying prizes. Play daily fantasy football on Yahoo this season. Visit sports.yahoo.com/dailyfantasy/welcome to claim the free $10 offer to get started. All right, Chris. So the Sunday night game was awesome this week. Highly entertaining game between the Chargers and the Steelers. There was all sorts of scoring. There was dirty plays. There was guys that should have been kicked out of games, arguably on both sides. It had it all. And it really was a perfect cap to the weekend where it's just high scoring all over the place. Like I said, there's someone that was going up against Eckler and Herbert and Taylor, or you throw in Jefferson into that mix, or there were just so many high scoring players this week. But that game in particular was just wild. Second time they've had a game like that this year, like the Browns game was the other one. Whenever they play AFC Central team or AFC North teams, they're going to have shootouts apparently.
Yeah, for some reason that's when they do it. Although they got totally shut down by the
the Ravens had a shootout. Yeah. They just declined to participate in that.
They didn't get involved, but it was great. I had Herbert, I had Deontay Johnson. I didn't have Eckler, so that was the only negative. But like Deontay Johnson got 100 yards on the touchdown. Eckler, let me turn the light on it's really dark in here. Eckler, what's up? Oh, hang on. Let this light fell off. Okay, Eckler got his. And then Herbert went crazy. He got 90 yards rushing. Here we go. All right. Sorry. I have to fix this thing. Here we go. Herbert went crazy. He had 90 yards rushing in addition to all the passing yards and the touchdowns. And he almost got a rushing touchdown. I was pissed when Eckler got one of those, maybe his third or fourth touchdown.
Yeah.
Herbert had almost got in and they handed off to Eckler. But it was huge, right? So you have him and Jonathan Taylor and Ertz in like the two key leagues, like starting off your week. It's like, that's great. And it was a good game. The Steelers came back. They got lucky. They got a block punt, and then they got that tipped interception. And suddenly they tied it up. And they took the lead, actually. And I was like, wow, there's 5 people on the Chargers in the circle pool. I was like, whoa, not only are they going to cover, they might actually knock these people out. So I was really excited. And then, the Steelers got destroyed on their last drive, if you could call it that. And then it was great to see, like, when you're getting 5.5 and your team's up 4. The team you're going against is up 4, and they kneel down at the 5-yard line. The Chargers ended the game like right there. I was like, nice, kneel down.
It probably like someone lost because they had Herbert going crazy, but yet you got the negative points for those kneel downs, and that negative fraction of a point, whatever that was. That'd probably be enough to push them under or something like that. There's someone out there with that, and you can scream.
But if you couldn't win with your quarterback getting as many points as Herbert,
right,
then
that's not the real problem. There's other issues. Yeah. Well, I think the real issue is there's just crazy scoring all over the place. Like at the Packers-Vikings game, a lot of correlation in there. If you had one of the premium players on that one, you probably walked away pretty happy.
Well, that was such an easy one, right? You just like, I'll do my Rodgers Adams stack, and I'll throw in Adam Thielen and Jefferson, maybe I'll do a cheap MVS on the side. Okay, good, done. And then of course you won, okay. Right. Then I'll use Jonathan Taylor. I don't know if you can afford all those guys, but that was an easy one.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was pretty wild. Aaron Rodgers talking about how his toe injury, which I think has got to be like turf toe, that or gout, is really painful. And he was bothering me. Now, he was able to scramble in this one, but, he's going to miss a lot of practices the rest of the way, and people are going to freak out about this.
Yeah, I mean, he played so well, it's hard to get too concerned, but he said after the game it was unpleasant, and they have a bye, I think, still ahead of them. Is that right? I don't know what week it is. It's not next week because they're playing – who are they playing? They're playing somebody, I believe. I don't know.
I will tell you in a moment.
Oh, no, they're playing the Rams next week. That's a tough game. So,
yeah.
Man, by the way, week 12. So forget it. So Thanksgiving's bad enough. But look at the teams on week 12. There is nothing on week 12. It's like the Bucs are at the Colts. You don't want to touch that. The Jets are at the Texans. You don't want to touch that. The Eagles are at the Giants. You don't want to touch that. Panthers at Dolphins. Titans at Patriots. I've used the Patriots. I might use the Patriots, but I've used them. Steelers at Bengals. I mean, the Bengals are like a choice. Falcons at Jaguars. The Falcons are a choice on the road. Okay. Chargers at Broncos. You don't want to touch that. Rams at Packers, which I've used them anyway. Yeah. And Vikings at Niners. Those are equal teams. And then Browns at Ravens. I've used the Ravens. And anyway, that's Seattle at Washington.
So it's going to be it's going to end this week, basically. That's what you're saying. Maybe.
I mean, there's going to be a few. I'm trying to think what the biggest favorites are going to be like a handful of points. They're not going to be like, there's no 7-point favorite that I can think of in that bunch.
No. Maybe no.
The Ravens over the Browns maybe or 6.5. I don't know. 6. I mean, there's no big favorites there.
Right. And most people have used the Ravens.
Yeah,
most
exactly.
people have used the Bengals. Most people have,
I have the Bengals, but I mean, they're going to be
everybody has used the Colts.
The Bengals are going to be like 4.5, 5 over the Steelers. I mean, they're not going to be huge favorites over the Steelers. If TJ Watt's out, that would be nice because it's such a difference maker.
The Steelers almost won despite giving all that up.
I know, on the road. Yeah, exactly. I mean, so the Bengals, the other one's the Falcons at Jacksonville. But I mean, Falcons on the road, dude, that's just.
Yeah, we saw that Thursday night game. At least if you're unlucky, you saw that Thursday night game and the atrocity that it was. I mean, that was. If you're a fan of defense, you could just watch the Pats play defense. Otherwise, it was performance art bad. It was such a bad game on Thursday night. It just the Pats offense wasn't much better. They were pretty awful in their own right. It was just a tough watch. I mean, Mac Jones looked okay in the first half, but in the second half, he was making mistakes. They settled for a bunch of field goals. You have Nick Folk. I
thought he played well. I had Nick Folk. I did have him in the league, but I thought he played well. Mac Jones. He made a beautiful throw to Hunter Henry, just threaded the needle perfectly, dropped it in, and then he got a little cocky where he forced one and then he threw a pick. Mm-hmm. But besides that pick where he got cocky after his best throw of the night, I thought he played well. And then Ramondre Stevenson looked great. Damon Harris looked good. They just looked good. The team, the defense looked, obviously they were the key, but the offense, I thought it was all right under the circumstances.
All right. Well, fair enough. I just thought it was an ugly game. Maybe it's just because Atlanta was so bad. I mean, 3 different quarterbacks throwing picks. I mean, that was pretty funny. I don't see how you could take them, but then again,
I might take them because it's at Jacksonville. So it's
real
Atlanta.
Man.
It's real Atlanta. Man. I mean, there's no non-real man pick. They're all real man. They're all 50-50. Look at this. I thought Seattle if Seattle had crushed the Cardinals and showed they were back, but now I can't take them at Washington. They're going to be underdogs at Washington or pick them at best. What else could you take? You look at the Chargers at Broncos. I can't take the Chargers at the Broncos. That's crazy.
And everybody has the Chargers left, by the way. Almost everybody does.
I mean, I'm going to look at the odds. I'm going to pot odds in as best I can. But by the way, I shouldn't be talking about this. I got to get through Thanksgiving. But we got to get through Thanksgiving. And then the reward is this. If we get through week 12, it's like, we are the team of destiny because this is between Thanksgiving and this, we're dealing with at best a 3-point favorite. The biggest favorite we have is the Bears again Thanksgiving. So the best is 60% if we don't take the Lions and go all in. And then the next week it'll be another 60% or 65% favorite. So, we've been dodging bullets all week, all year. We just got to, think on it, meditate on it, let it come to us. That's it.
All right. Very good. The Bills, not only can they not stop Taylor, I think that was just Taylor rising to another level. But their offense, though, that's the thing that bothers me is that they got solved a little bit. Allen's making some bad throws. I bought into the whole, Jordan Palmer quarterback camp accuracy thing. And I should say I didn't buy into it because I don't have him in any leagues, but
I have him.
I bought the logic. How about that? It's pretty wild. And I know you mentioned the MVP odds and how if there's ever going to be a year there's a non-quarterback MVP, it might be this one. I think Taylor's making a pretty darn case for it now. I think Henry could have before that, but
right, it's Henry and now it's Taylor, and Cooper Kupp is the dark horse because he's so far above everybody at the wide receiver spot. I think Rodgers right now is the MVP. Okay, he's the best quarterback in the league right now, but inoculation gate they're not gonna give it to him. They will not do that. Okay, so then who else? Brady's got a chance. He's got a play really well tonight. You know, I mean, there's a lot of season left, but you know, he's got to start with tonight because he hasn't played well the last couple of games. Okay. And then Stafford has kind of fallen apart the last couple of games. Lamar got sick and he wasn't playing very well before that. Josh Allen's played poorly the last 3 games. You know,
Wait,
Mahomes,
you're saying Lamar didn't play well?
He didn't play well against a couple of games. He didn't play well. He had some mediocre games. Maybe against the Vikings. Was it Vikings last week? He played well, like in the end of the game. I guess he did a comeback, but he wasn't playing that great before that. And he got Miami. He played terrible against Miami.
Oh yeah, that was but you know what? I thought that was a play calling thing. I thought that was play call. I didn't blame that so much on Lamar than I did the offensive coordinator and
whoever. I mean,
Watkins dropping balls and
the stats and the stats though. You know what I mean? Like he's not having that year where he had that monster game against Indy, but you look at it and like, you know, in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 9 games, he's only had 1 touchdown pass.
Yeah.
And he's only had 2 rushing touchdowns all year. So he's had this one big game against Indy. His YPA right now is 7.9. It's still pretty good. He's got 14 TDs, 8 picks though. It's going to be hard to sell on that. He's been fine. He's having a good year, and so is Brady, and so is Josh Allen. They're all having good years. Kyler Murray's been hurt. All these front runners have just fallen off. Russell Wilson's out of the mix. Pat Mahomes, came back, and Prescott had a terrible game and missed a game. I mean, nobody's taken over this lead. And if they're all sort of at the end of the year, like 35 touchdowns and 14 picks and 4,300 yards, and Taylor's got like 2,000 yards and 22 touchdowns, and the Colts make a huge run on, I think he could win it. Or if the Rams are the 1 seed, it'll probably go to Stafford. But Kupp might have 15, 16 touchdowns and 1,800 yards. He might have, one of the all-time receiving seasons. Yeah.
Colts are still on the outside looking in as far as the playoffs go, because the AFC's got so many just barely over 500 teams and they started off so poorly. I think they started off 1-4.
Yeah.
So they're on fire now, but and I wouldn't bet against them making the playoffs, but I think
they're going to make the playoffs. They're a good team.
I think so.
I mean, Wentz is kind of sketch, but he's not terrible. And they're just, that running game, the defense is pretty good. They just blew out Buffalo. There's nobody. So this week though, they play the Bucs. So the Bucs get the Giants on Monday night, so they've got a short week, and then they're going to go to Indy, I believe.
This is a big game for the Bucs. They need to arrest their decline, this losing streak. And like you said, the short week coming up with a tough road game.
But it's such a parity league. So the only team with 2 losses is Arizona, right? And you got Dallas banged up at 7-3. The Packers, they're probably good, but they've lost 2 out of 3. I mean, one of them was without Rodgers. Mm-hmm. And Tampa, I mean, if they go to 6-4, they're fine, because the Saints are 5-5, and then have to go, then have to host Buffalo next week on Thanksgiving. So there's no real urgency in terms of everybody's kind of a contender now. I mean, the Giants aren't, but if they win tonight, they're 4-6. It's just crazy. Like Detroit and Chicago are the only ones who are definitely out of it. And the Giants are Seattle's probably out of it. And the Giants will be out of it if they lose tonight. So it's just, it's crazy how tight it is.
It is. We'll talk about a couple of these teams, including Seattle, and whether it's the end of an era there. But first, a quick note from Thrive. Thrive is back for another season of fantasy football, and they're running huge guaranteed contests each week this NFL season. With Thrive Fantasy, you can eliminate the countless hours of research and focus on only the top-tier athletes that have the biggest impact on the game. Sign up today and get a free 6-month Rotowire subscription. Here's how you claim your free Rotowire subscription. 1, visit rotowire.com/thrive. 2, deposit a minimum of $10 and receive a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. And 3, play in your first paid contest and receive a free 6-month Rotowire subscription. Big thanks to Thrive. Big thanks to the folks at the Blue Wire Network for providing us a network to post our podcast on. Want to talk let's talk Seattle. They're 3-7 now. They look checked out to me. They look done. Is it time for Pete Carroll to go?
I mean, I don't know. He's just the guy he is. He's just like this coach that gets them motivated typically, and he's never been great with the decisions, the down and distance stuff. I'll say this. They look strong with Geno Smith. They played Pittsburgh tight in Pittsburgh. They beat somebody, I can't remember, who's okay on the road. Geno Smith played well. and the defense looked much better. And so there was no talk of Pete Carroll was like, wow, Pete Carroll's really kind of holding this together despite having Geno Smith. They were 3-5. Russell Wilson came back. It's like, okay, let's go on a run. Let's get to 6-5. We'll, get into this.
Right. And
it's Russell Wilson who's been terrible the last 2 games. 2 games that I thought they would, be competitive against Green Bay. They didn't even score a point. And then they, got beaten pretty easily by Arizona without Murray. And so then they're all like, oh, it's the end of an era. Pete Carroll's got to go. Why? Because 3 weeks ago with Geno Smith, they were playing hard. The defense was playing well. So I don't really understand. It's clearly Russell Wilson's not himself, and the team would have been better off.
Terrible too.
But they weren't though. With Geno Smith, they were all playing well. Like that's what I'm trying to say. Like, yeah, it's only been since Wilson came back.
Well, no, they played well in one game. They were really awful against New Orleans in the Monday night game. That was a squash. It was they didn't move the ball at all. Geno Smith didn't look good at all in that game.
That was one game, but then they went to Pittsburgh and lost 20-17 in a very competitive game, and then they beat somebody after that. So Geno Smith actually got them playing okay, and the defense was playing way better than here. Let me take a look at the results, full schedule. Let me take a look at this. I want to look at their results because I remember being like, oh yeah, I thought they were going to get killed.
They beat Jacksonville. I mean, that's what it came down to.
Okay, so they lost to New Orleans 13-10. They lost to Pittsburgh 23-20 on the road. That
game, yeah, Geno played okay in that game. You're right.
And they killed the Jaguars. They had their bye, and it's like, okay, Russell's back. I mean, I think they were 1-2 without Wilson. Well, they lost Wilson midway through the Rams game, so they were doing fine. They lost Wilson midway through the Rams game, and then they fell apart. Then Geno plays a solid game at Pittsburgh, barely lose. Geno didn't play great against the Saints, but it was just one of those games. It was a close game, and then they got. Then they destroy Jacksonville and get him back. And I don't know, whatever.
So are you saying Russell Wilson is Baker Mayfield hurting the team by being out there too soon?
He was. I mean, he was. But, Russell Wilson's a different level of player than Baker Mayfield. So if you have Russell Wilson, you want to try to see what he can do. Baker Mayfield's just a guy. So to force him out there makes no sense. I understand why you would force Russell Wilson out there. But in reality, which they obviously didn't know at the time, he was worse than Geno Smith.
Yeah. Baker Mayfield, by the way. So the Browns – they have to make a decision whether or not they're going to try to give him the contract extension or not. They did their team option for 2022 already, so they're locked in for next year. But number 1 overall pick, it's tough to make that decision. I'm sure they're going to do it. Their head, right?
Well, yeah, they're going to do it because teams are cowards. They gave Andy Dalton the extension. They gave Joe Flacco the extension. They give quarterbacks because they're terrified of. Being the Jets, and having Zach Wilson or being in the wilderness, trying to use all your high picks on these crappy quarterbacks. And how about Taylor Heineke, by the way? All these people, you got to pick a quarterback. These quarterbacks, Dak Prescott, Taylor Heineke, Russell Wilson, Jalen Hurts. None of these guys are first-round picks. They come out of the woodwork, a lot of these QBs. They're so terrified to be in the wilderness that they will extend a mediocre quarterback to a second contract, which you never do. Baker's okay. I also think Cleveland might be like Chicago a little bit, where it might just be a really hard place to play quarterback. I mean, how many
I think you're right.
Good quarterbacks have been in Cleveland? Like Brian Sipe had that year, Bernie Kosar. But there's no real, it's not just temperature, right? Because the Bills had Jim Kelly and Josh Allen. They have quarterbacks, and Green Bay's obviously had Favre and Rodgers.
It could be wind.
Wind.
But then again, Buffalo has wind, I hear. But it's not, I mean, it could just be, it's just fluky that these cities did this. But I do think that maybe Cleveland's just a rough place to play. Right.
And Baker's actually better than they think. But from what I've seen of Baker in 4 years in the league, not a second contract guy. He's below that threshold. I think Cousins is better than Baker. And I would put Cousins over the threshold, and I wouldn't put Baker over it. I mean, Cousins barely, but I do think he's better.
And Cousins and those contracts, those second contracts are just they have a huge impact on your rest of your roster. They take up so much cap space. I mean, Cousins' contract has had a huge impact. I look at the Chiefs, and part of their issue this year is that they had to let some other things go because Mahomes has a real contract now. He's not on his rookie contract anymore.
Although they look like that's fine. They just didn't move Chris Jones Chris Jones is dominating the game every game now. He just destroyed the Cowboys. He destroyed the Raiders last week. He's just a one-man wrecking crew. And then all of a sudden they're like, what's that guy? Legarius, what's his name? Legarius something is like, oh, he's one of the best corners in the league. Oh, he is now that the quarterback's like running for his life. Exactly. Legarius Sneed maybe. And all of a sudden all these like guys that you remember from the Chiefs secondary that when they were in the playoffs and they were making plays, you're like, oh, these guys are good. Well, they're good now because the guy's running for his life. And so now everything looks fine with the Chiefs because they just had to get that Chris Jones sorted. Mahomes, didn't do much, but they didn't really need to.
Yeah, I think it was Ted Bell that said, hey, one of the big deals of the year was going out and the Steelers going out and getting Melvin Ingram so Chris Jones could play on the inside, where he is much happier and much more productive. And sure enough, I mean, at first I was like, okay, they shut down Jordan Love. I'm not buying it. Okay, right. And I think the week before they had a good defensive game. I'm trying to remember.
No, the Giants, but they didn't have a great game.
But it was the Giants.
But it wasn't even that good of a game. I mean, it was It was close.
Right. And then, okay, now they go to the Raiders and shut down the Raiders. They go and shut down the Cowboys. Now, there's always an excuse. The Cowboys, they're missing Tyron Smith. CeeDee Lamb got hurt, although they were getting shut down the first half. Even before that, because Lamb got hurt in the last play of basically the second quarter with that interception. But point is, they're doing it. It's one thing to say, okay, they're taking advantage of all these things, but you actually have to take advantage of those things too. You have to have the capability of doing that, and they are. So we have to kind of revisit. I mean, they were such a bad defense earlier on this year, Chris. I mean, they were horrible. Tennessee moved it all over them. Philly, even in a losing effort, Philly and Washington moved it all over them. Buffalo destroyed them, in KC no less. Now, Chris Jones didn't play against Buffalo or Washington.
Chris Jones is just such a huge factor for them. He's their best defensive player. He's their second best, maybe Tyreek Hill is, but he's their second or third best player. I mean, he's a huge key to that team. And it's funny they had to bring in Melvin Ingram. Why not just bring in some random practice squad edge rusher and move Jones over? Like, if it's that much of a difference maker, you don't need a specialized edge rusher. Just get the guy in this position and work around that.
Yeah, yes and no. You have to have something that is going to scare the other team to dedicate a resource to them, right?
I mean, you got to block everybody. You can't not block somebody. It's like, anyway, it's just weird that it took them that long to figure out. But they look good defensively, and then that's dangerous. Now their offense still isn't really.
No, it's not fixed.
Yeah. So it's still having trouble, kind of adjusting to dink and dunk. It's still not comfortable with it.
Well, they and Arizona both get the bye this week, so they'll have some time to get healthy and fix things, maybe work on that. We'll see what happens when they come out of the bye. Andy Reid almost always does well after the bye, so that'll be kind of interesting to see how they emerge from that. When they come back, they get home games, Denver and Vegas, so they got 3 straight division games after the bye. So that'll be kind of a big test for them. So we'll see what happens with that. All right. We got to get going. We got to get the XM show getting ready for that. Is there anything else you are working on for East Coast offense?
No. So much going on these days. I haven't even thought about it. But I don't know. I'm not sure what it's going to be.
All right.
It is going to be. I just thought of it. It's going to be following up, especially with the Survivor stuff. Don't let the probability follow up on last week's. I didn't realize how deep this concept of last week. It's something that you've always heard, like models are not reality. Have you heard the expression, all models are wrong, some are useful? Have you heard that expression? Or the map is not the territory? You think you understand, you think you understand what that means, like, oh yeah, well, of course, like reality's not my model of it, right? And you think that you understand what that means, but you don't understand what that means because the models that you have implicitly in your mind, like probability is how the NFL works. Those models are so embedded that you really think that like it's a probability problem rather than a observation problem to figure out who's going to win next week. And this is so deeply embedded to get out of that mindset of like, what I was saying, like the pot odds, and you're saying, oh, I don't feel right about that. It's like, because it's not really a probability problem. I mean, you can be modeled as a probability problem because there's some similarity to coin flips or whatever, but that model of coin flips, we haven't just like said, oh, that's a good analogy, or we can use that. It is literally the way we see the lens of all these games and all this stuff is through probability. And once you are in that mode, it is so deeply embedded that it's just starting to dawn on me how for 20 years I've been writing these up and thinking of through probability and being like, holy shit, I've totally substituted the model for reality to the point where I really thought the model was reality. I really thought spread picks were coin flips.
Yeah.
And that's just a model. It really is just a model. It's just a way of thinking about it. And that, I don't know if I'm communicating this properly, but like it occurred to me.
This is some Matrix level stuff here.
Yeah, no, like how deep in the Matrix I was with this probability stuff, thinking that was real, but that's complete fiction. It's like a total fiction.
So, I you know what I was thinking of? I was trying to think of like baseball projections, right? Yeah. That my process is right. I've got the project. This is a good projection. So that's what the rankings should say. No, I'm doing it backwards. I want to be able to tell people to draft the right player.
Right.
And I keep on thinking, well, you got to have the integrity of the process. No,
right.
The bottom line is tell them to draft the right player and tell them to avoid the right players. That's the bottom line.
That's the whole game. It's the whole game. It doesn't matter what correlates with what on average or whatever, or, because on average, a player who does this at this age does that. That's just a model. That doesn't mean anything. It just doesn't mean anything to do with reality. It doesn't have anything to do with reality itself. And if you ever want to prove that, again, I use this example every time. 6th round pick, not that athletic, is a backup quarterback. Over under, let's go over 6.5 Super Bowl wins, and he may get over 7.5. The probability of that is 0. You wouldn't, no model would even, the amount of standard deviations outside the model's range of outcomes for Tom Brady. It's not, it's an astronomical level that you'd have to have quadrillions of humans on earth before one with his specs once, over 6.5 Super Bowls, but yet it happened. And so, and I've read a book about this called, the hell was the book called? Anyway, it was a book about modeling financial markets. And all these people thought that it was like a bell curve. Someone says they can't hear anything, Jeff.
I can hear you.
Yeah. Well, this guy just said, I don't know what, maybe it's just on Twitter, but he said he modeled like financial collapses and crashes with these bell curves. And these guys all lost their shirt because they didn't model like bell curves. There was a reflexivity to the market where it like fed on itself, and the spikes were way higher and way more steep than any sort of like bell curve type of model would have indicated. But they were all on this same, again, same thing. They were in the Matrix. They were all on this model that they were not seeing the reality. So I'm going to write about that. And just try to live it. I got to live it this week, Jeff. I got to live it and just get it right.
All right. Well, let's do it. Let's get it right. All right.
Get it right. Let's do it.
All right. And I'm sorry you just joined us if you just joined us now, because we are signing off. But we'll be back at you again tomorrow. We got Joe and Jake doing Waiver Wire as always. On Wednesday, I'm going to have the guys from AAA Fantasy joining me. Looking forward to that one. We're about to go do Sirius XM. You're going to go check out East Coast Offense. You're going to check out Survivor this week, all sorts of good stuff. So please check it out, rotowire.com/try. I get that free 10-day trial. Thank you guys for listening. Thanks to WinBet for your
Team of Destiny, Jeff. Code is Team of Destiny.
Team of Destiny, indeed. And let's go Bengals this week. Beat the Steelers. All right. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.